Welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for episode 19 of our new figure showcase, where I'll be doing a quick review / posing session with the newest addition to my collection. And today, we're going to be moving away from our superhero, Star Trek, and Gangsters Kingdom figures a little bit and delve into the world of military releases. And we'll be looking at Easy and Simple Special Mission Unit Combat Control Team Operator. That's a mouthful right there, but I do believe this is based on the United States Air Force Combat Control Operators, who deploy alongside other special operations units. So before going full depth into the figure and this release, I do want to note that I started off collecting with military figures, including some very early Hot Toys releases. For those of you that didn't know, before Hot Toys became the Star Wars Marvel behemoth they are today, they were doing some military releases, and they were great, as we would have expected. Then I transitioned to Soldier Story, and after that dabbled in Damtoys for a little bit. But once the MCU kicked off, I did veer away from collecting these types of figures for a little bit. Which brings us back to today. Easy and Simple has been a company I've been watching now for a while, and they have been delivering a huge number of figures, and they all looked really good. And they're offering them at a pretty reasonable price too. For example, the current set of Damtoys figures are coming in closer to Hot Toys pricing, which, given the equipment and the overall amazing way the figures look, isn't really surprising. But Easy and Simple has been offering a more budget-conscious alternative. When they teased their combat controller, it definitely sparked my interest. I liked the camo pattern and the way the figure looked fully equipped. There were a lot of unique elements too that I don't have in my collection at all, so I took a chance and I'm glad I did. Now, I won't be jumping full force back into military figures, but I will probably start picking up the occasional one here and there. And also, I'm not an expert on the equipment or the loadout, so I apologize in advance if I get things wrong. But I will be looking at these figures based almost exclusively on the quality of the kit and the figure overall, and ultimately on how he looks. So as is our norm, let's take a look at the figure with the overall package. And as you can see from these, unlike some of our other figures, these come with a ton of pieces, including some very small elements that you have to be careful not to lose. And that is one of the big differences here from some of the other figures we've reviewed in the past. Whereas the other figures included great accessories, they're usually things for the figure to hold, but they don't require a ton of work to kit up. Here, that is part of the process with these figures. You have to add some of the pouches and holsters to the belts and chest rigs and really assemble everything. And there are no instructions, so you're allowed some freedom in how you kit the figure up. And even the weapons don't come with the attachments on, so the rifle, for example, gives you flexibility. So what you're seeing here are a ton of pouches for some of these pieces of equipment to fit in. You're getting a rifle, handgun, laser targeting designator, and the grenade launcher. You're also getting a bunch of optics and attachments for the rails. And then you've got a bunch of pieces that will fix to the helmet, including some stickers that you have to add into the headset. So these will take a lot of work to put in. But I will tell you at first, overall look, all these pieces look incredible. There's a ton of detail on these, not to mention the weapons with working pieces, fully removable ammunition, and great detail work, including clearly printed lettering on the weapons. So visually stunning. Now, normally at this point, we take a closer look at each accessory individually, but then this would become a boring, extremely long video, just due to the sheer amount that this figure comes with. So what I am going to do is I'm going to start assembling some of the kit, like the rifle, the guns, the helmet, the chest rig, and once those are set up, I'll do a more in-depth view of each fully assembled component so we can review. And I'll spare you the frustration these are going to cause me, because if memory serves, these always look beautiful at the end, but getting pieces attached can be one of the most frustrating, albeit rewarding experiences. All right, so now we're back, and the entire process with working a full-time job and kids took a few days, and I did end up cursing a bit, and I did cut myself a couple of times with the tweezers, so just an FYI. Also, one thing I should add, when working with these types of figures, like I mentioned, I would highly recommend using some sort of hobby kit with those very fine pointed tweezers. They're pretty essential, since you'll need to thread things into the pouches and into the belts and the chest rig. So let's start things off with the rifle, which looks incredible. And I did look up the model. It is an HK rifle, and there are details on the rifle's lower that indicate that. Now, you don't need to attach all these things, but I did try to add most of the pieces on here, including the sling, the optics, the foregrip, the bipod, the suppressor, and the lasers. They do give you another alternate laser designator that I did attach as well. I believe it's an alternate laser, so again, you don't need both, but I opted to keep this one on just to make the rifle look a little cooler. Overall, the piece is incredible. Visually looks amazing, and it feels solid. Not to say you should go ahead and manhandle it, because they're all still delicate, but it feels good. World of difference when you compare it to the rifle I reviewed with the Damtoys Killmonger, which I really had a number of issues with. The detailing, paint apps on everything, including the rifle's lower, the scopes, they're just amazingly well done, and this thing looks extremely realistic. So a lot of credit to Easy and Simple on what they're accomplishing here. Next up in the weapon category is his pistol, which is a Glock 17 that comes with a red dot sight, an attachment at the muzzle which looks great, and what seems to be some higher capacity clips. Again, the detail on this piece is just outstanding. So going back to some other figures that I reviewed, namely the Killmonger and the Toys R Us John Walker Cap and Zemo, this is the kind of replacement gun I'll be looking for, since I really didn't like the sidearms they came with from a detail and quality perspective. You definitely want something more like this to give you that realistic feel. Next up, he has a grenade launcher. Just some attachments here, including the laser designator and red dot, and it's a beautiful piece with a nice holster attachment, and it does work letting you slide out the barrel so you can insert a shell. Again, great paint apps and detail work on the side of the barrel. The more you look at these, the more you start to really look at the pieces as 6-scale works of art. Final piece isn't really a weapon, even though it does look like a gun, but I do believe this is a laser designator that the operator would use to laser target for a guided bomb. So a very interesting piece here with the nice lens work, and it does include a red dot sight as well. So I did want to show you some more poses, including a pose with him holding this, but I did have a break for one of the wrist pegs, and I had to cut the posing a little bit short. Now, looking at his kit, this was a little painful, but let's start with his belt. And it has some interesting pieces, including a holster for the laser designator, a clip that holds a gas grenade, a back pouch, and a holster for the grenade launcher. So nice set of equipment here, and a lot of great slots to hold all of his gear. Next, the chest rig. And this is pretty much the heart of the figure, with a lot going into it. So back of it, his back has a backpack that you zip on, and it attaches to the plate carrier itself with working zippers, and it holds an emergency flag that can be deployed for aerial vehicles to spot. On the front, you have a pack for his spare magazines, and on top of that, you have a slot. You have to slide in his chest computer, which is a really interesting piece that links to a radio and then to his sunglasses with some kind of like an eye screen. And then, of course, you have the gun holster on his chest. So overall, it's pretty striking. And once you put the radio gear that's going to go on his sides and the rest of the equipment, which includes additional mag pouches and grenade pouches for the grenade launcher, it all just looks incredible. Plus, you even have the antennas for his radio. So pretty nice work here. Finally, the helmet. And this is, again, really amazing with the quad MVGs and the strobe. The radio is also fully articulated, so visually really stunning, and again, just impressive how much motion and movement they were able to, and articulation they were able to put in this. Just a warning in advance, it's all delicate, so you have to be careful to just avoid breaking things. But it's a great setup with different display options, including having the MVGs down or up, and you could even bring in his clear goggles. Finally, we'll just take a quick look at the figure here. Won't really pay too much attention to the sculpt because with these it'll be hidden by the headgear, the glasses, and the MVGs, but even with that, I think it's actually pretty decent. And I think it's supposed to look like Sebastian Stan. It very much feels like a Bucky sculpt. In addition, the eyes are well painted and the texture and detailing on the face is really good. Then the uniform looks amazingly well tailored with all the pockets and panels, so by itself looks great. It's almost a shame that you're going to end up hiding a lot of this with the kit, but it serves a purpose, and credit to Easy and Simple for providing a good base uniform. So with that out of the way, let's start taking a look at what we came for, which is the fully kit up figure. And he looks amazing. These figures really are in a league of their own. The detail on all the elements looks incredible, and they fit on the figure so well. And it really is amazing how many working parts are here. MVGs are on an active slide, the computer folds down, weapons all have active moving parts, so you can really achieve a lot of great natural looking poses. I had forgotten how incredible these are, and I know we all love Hot Toys, and InArt seems to be giving us that next level of realism, but a lot of these figures were honestly already doing that, these military type figures. I'll grant you, because of the equipment, they never had to worry about rooted versus sculpted hair having a perfect sculpt, but I can't imagine anyone telling you once they look at a figure like this that it isn't a person in 6-scale format. That's how good they are. Just based on the detail alone, these figures are going to stand out in anyone's collection. But no figure is perfect, so let's start with the first major negative, and that is the wrist peg. Some of the pistol poses that you can see are a little stagnant, to be honest. I was hoping to get him posed holding the gun straight in front of him with both hands, which you can do, but the wrist peg literally just sheared off. And honestly, I wasn't even being that forceful, so that's a big knock on them, because as amazing as this is, once you lose that peg, there's little you can do posing-wise with the figure. Also, they don't send additionals, which is a negative, so you're out of luck once that breaks. I used a little crazy glue to just reattach the peg for the temp condition, and I was able to order some replacements that should be here in the next few days. So I'll still have a fully functional figure. It's just annoying to have to deal with. Other slightly annoying thing, for the rifle again, looks incredible, but you do have to attach the rails to the gun individually. And unfortunately, they don't stay in place well. So I had to brainstorm how I wanted the gun to look first, and then used a dab of crazy glue to hold the rails and then the attachments in position. It's a shame because the joy of these is to kit them up however you like, so having to permanently attach them, the pieces, takes away from it a little bit. But it doesn't take away from how incredible everything looks at the end. Same applies for the MVGs. They're a little loose on the helmet rig, so I put a dab of glue to lock it in, and you do have to be careful to avoid gluing some of the moving parts together, because otherwise you're stuck. So little things to be cautious with. And like I mentioned at the start, with these figures, hobby kits use hobby kits and needle nose hobby tweezers. They're going to be your friends, and do be careful. While the figure's an overall solid build, all these little pieces do require the figure to be handled delicately. Don't brute force it, or you're going to break some of the pieces, which would be a real shame. But if you're patient, these will look amazing. Final thoughts, even with the break, I'm extremely happy with this purchase. Like I said, I won't be going full speed ahead back into military figures, but I will be picking up the occasional ones. It's hard not to be impressed with this, and as my first experience with Easy and Simple, I'm impressed. There's a ton of attention to detail and real care taken with these pieces, so I'll definitely pick up other figures from them in the future. So that wraps up this quick review. I know it's something a little bit different, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And again, I'm not an expert on this, so if I got something wrong, please don't hold it against me. And as always, thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying these reviews and some of the other content, please go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next video.